you're clicking through this ginormous slide deck, which is only going to get bigger, each one of these icons is going to take you to the right place. So today we're working on Drive. This is the icon for Drive. This is the logo for Drive. I'm going to click on it, and it's going to take you to this lovely menu page for Drive. These are all the things that we're going to be going over today. It's a lot. I'm just going to tell you right now, but again, open mind, everyone, open mind, right? Open mind. We're going to have open minds about this because a lot of this is not really about doing things. A lot of this is more about embracing and understanding certain things. So that's what we're going to be doing today. All right. So I want to go over some Google basics. Now, these are things that go across all the Google applications, whether it's Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Drive, Gmail, whatever. A lot of these things are the same. So one of the things that we always have is there's always the waffle. That's what the waffle looks like. I know food words. I love food. So click on the waffle to go to other Google apps. So when you click on the waffle, it drops down this nice menu of all the different apps. That's great. Okay. There's also the kebab or the hamburger. These things are, if you click on those, you get a different menu. So if you're looking to do something and you don't see it on the page, look for the kebab or the hamburger, because that's where the other choices are going to be. If you see a question mark, that's how you can get to the help site. Not a real person, you know, Google, I'll be honest, Google doesn't really do that, but you click on the question mark for help, but you can also send them feedback. So if there's something that's not working that you think should work, you can go ahead and let them know. And oftentimes if they get enough requests, they actually make changes. They make changes often. To the point right now, they are making changes constantly. Luckily, Google Drive has pretty much stayed the same. So that's very helpful. And then there's that gear. If you see a gear, and this really goes across anything online, if you see a gear, that's settings. Okay, so setting the stage, that's where you do it. So I added this yellow box just today because I want you to note that in Google, there are often multiple ways of doing things. So it could be that you click on the kebab or the hamburger, but it also could be that you are right-clicking on something. And I'm going to be talking about some things that you can do with right-clicking within Google Drive. So always remember, your mouse probably has two buttons, a left one and a right one. Now, I'm sorry, I am saying that for right-handed people, okay? So when I talk about right-clicking, I'm talking about the other button, the one that you're not usually using, okay? The right-click is fantastic. And also, if for some reason you don't have the waffle or you can't get into Clever, a lot of people are very reliant on Clever, right? Remember, everything that we go to online has a URL or an address. So I'm giving you a for instance here with Google Drive. You can always find Google Drive by clicking on this box way at the top of the screen. That's called the Omni box. That's the nice long box. You can type your questions in there, but you can also put URLs in there. But Google Drive is actually drive.google.com. All right. Mail. Guess what Gmail is? Mail.google.com. What's Docs? Docs.google.com. Right? There's a pattern. So it's basically the name of the app, .google.com. Classroom, classroom.google.com. So they really stuck with that, which is really helpful in times where you cannot find your bookmark, you cannot find the waffle, any of those things. Just remember all that, okay? So a quick note about Drive. And again, this is where you all are going to be, there's going to be some of this that you go, what? You know, open mind, open mind. All right. So Chrome, this is what we're using. Chrome is a browser, right? So, and that was a browser that was created by Google. Names of other browsers. Safari is another browser. Firefox is another browser. I don't know what the name of the stupid Microsoft one is. Oops, did I say that? Edge. Edge, I think, is the name of it. These are all browsers. These are ways to go out onto the World Wide Web, right? So it's a software application like all these other things, but this one is created by Google. And so the reason why we ask people to use Chrome a lot is because we're using a lot of Google applications. Google Drive is an application. Google Docs is an application, right? Google Classroom is an application. These are all applications, and they run on this browser called Chrome. Okay, so another quick note. This gets people really confused sometimes. Cloud's not a cloud. It's not like you're saving something and it goes up into some ether, okay? No, it's actually when you save to the cloud, right? Your stuff, document, presentation, spreadsheet, whatever it is, it's being saved at a data center, a humongous building with lots and lots and lots and lots of servers. These buildings are huge. But what's great is that data is backed up so that you don't have to back it up. If you save something onto your computer at home, that's where it's saved. What happens if something happens to your computer? Bye. Goodbye, file, right? That's why it's really great to use things like Google Drive because it's all saved in the Google Drive. Nothing's going to happen to it unless you delete it. I mean, that's really up to you. But all of that stuff is backed up. So when you go to this presentation later, you can click here. There is a data center tour that talks about security. Very interesting. And then there's a map of the data center locations. They're all over the world. So if something goes wrong at the data center where your stuff is, it's backed up to like somewhere in Ireland. I'm not kidding. I'm very serious about this. So just remember, don't get freaked out when people say, well, it's in the cloud. No, just know that it's at a data center somewhere. Okay, so Drive. What the heck is Google Drive? Well, I'm going to start with what we were doing 20 years ago. 20 years ago, we had filing cabinets, and I'm speaking as an old kindergarten teacher. I was a kindergarten teacher my first year of teaching. I had a file cabinet that looked almost like this, except that it was metal. And within the file cabinet, I had folders. And within the folders, I had pieces of paper. Those were files, right? Folders and files. And then sometimes I had folders and folders and folders, right? That's how I saved my stuff. It was all hard copies. And again, consider what would have happened if the school had burnt down. There goes all my stuff, right? Well, and then we moved to Windows, right? And then with Windows, we had things like Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, those kinds of things. But when you save those things, where do they go? They go onto your computer's hard drive. And if so, again, it's up to you to back that stuff up, right? And if you're not backing it up to a separate hard drive, it'll go, right? Please, as you're entering, everyone, if you could please mute your mic, that would be great. So just remember that was what we were doing, right? We were saving things to our hard drive. Sometimes your hard drive would get full. Oh my gosh, now you got to get rid of things. Sometimes that happens to you with your phone. You've got too many pictures on your phone. Now you got to get rid of them, right? So just think about that. That's where we were. Now we're moving, right? We have moved over to Google Drive. Google Drive is basically a humongous filing cabinet, right? It's just like the biggest filing cabinet ever. But what makes it better? Okay, stop, collaborate, and listen, people. I'm going to drop some vanilla ice. So what makes Drive better is that when you have things in Drive, you can share, collaborate, and update. So yeah, I stole a little bit from vanilla ice. It's not stop, collaborate, and listen, but share, collaborate, and update, right? These are all the things that you can do with Google Drive when you have things in Google Drive and you're using things like Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets, right? Then you can do all of these things with that file. All right, so I'm going to take you on a quick tour. What does Google Drive look like? Thankfully, Google Drive has, like I said before, has not changed that much. It's great. This is the one that kind of pretty much stays the same. So here we are. This is Drive. Now yours may look different from mine, but that's okay because I've put a couple of notes in here about how you can make it look more like this. So basically this is how it works. Is that this is the Drive, and you know what, forget this. I'm just going to go over to my Drive. You can look at that thing later. So this is my Drive. All right. So what I have on the left, I have the new button. This is where I would go ahead and create a new folder, right? Remember we talked about the file cabinet, right? So you can create a new folder. You can actually upload, and I will be talking about that later, uploading things from your drive, from your hard drive on your computer up into Google Drive. And then there are all these too, right? These are all the Google apps that we will eventually be going over through this series. but you can actually go ahead and create them right here from Google Drive. So for me, I always have Google Drive open because that's where I do all my stuff. All right, so that's the new button. This is my drive. That's what it generally opens up to, is this thing that says my drive, right? And what I have here, this is called quick access. Now, if you don't have that turned on, I have instructions on how to turn that on, but what it does is it shows me the things that I went to most recently or the things that I go to often, which is really great. So for instance, here's what we're working on right now, right? This is what I'm using right now. And that's just a quick link. So if I double click on that, it's going to go ahead and open it up in another tab. All right, so here I've got my drive. I have shared drives. I am not going to talk about shared drives because those are a hot mess. I'm serious. I don't mess with shared drives. Just don't. It doesn't make any sense. But my drive is the main thing. Now, let me go back here. So these here are subsections of your drive, right? The shared with me, the recent, starred, and trash. Those are all parts of your drive. Okay, so don't think of it as separate. Shared with me is a little bit separate, but generally speaking, it's part of your drive as well. And down here are all my folders. Okay, so I've got quite a bit going on here. Let me go back. So that's, quick, very, very, very quick tour. Oh, also very importantly, this is the search bar. Wow, it's a really powerful search bar. I'm going to talk more about that in a little bit. All right, so you can actually set the stage so it makes more sense to you, right? I'm going to show you grid versus list view. So I'm going to go back to my drive. And there is a button right here. I don't know if you can see it. Upper right-hand corner, just below my picture and the West Contra Costa logo. Okay, so that's this button right here. And it's going to change. I'm not going to click on it yet, but if I click on it, it will change to grid view. Now I'm going to show you what that means. I'm going to tell you right now, this is list view. List view makes sense to me. Okay, this is what makes sense to me. Now grid view might make more sense to you. Let me show you the difference. List view, there's list view. If I click here, I get grid view. It's always slower when I'm presenting, I tell you. That's grid view. So I get little pictures of all of my folders. Now, I'm going to be really honest with you. It doesn't make much sense to me. Okay, I actually don't like it this way. I prefer list view. So, but this is up to you. But this is one way that you can change the view here. Okay. Let me go back. So that's grid view versus list view, right? You have to decide. I have little pictures here so you can see them. The other way that you can change the way Drive looks and maybe will be easier for you is, oops, wrong place. I'm back in list view, is right here. So there are things you can do. One thing is, if you're the alphabetical order person, you can click on name here. And it's not working now. Okay, this is actually alphabetical order backwards. So if I click again on the arrow, it'll change the direction. So now it's in alphabetical order. You notice it's not in alphabetical order, and it's because I've used the pound sign. I've also put in little emoji. That kind of messes it up a little. Just ignore that. I got fancy. Okay, I'm a little extra on that. So that you can do it by name, right? If you want. Now you can change this at any time you want. It's not like it makes it permanent, right? I can change by owner. Now I own most of these things, but if I click here, it will go ahead. Oh, it's not. Oh, I'm sorry. It doesn't. Okay. The two things that you can do is name, which is alphabetical, and then this one right here. Let me make this a little bit bigger. These are my choices here. If I click on the little arrow, I can have it be last opened by me. I can have it also be last modified by me, which means I made a change to it, the folder itself, or it was just changed by anyone. I prefer last opened by me. That is my favorite way to sort these things, because that means that whatever I was working on, Let's see if I can make this work right. Whatever I was working on last goes to the top. Now I know that what we're working on right now with that whole slideshow, it's in this folder. Okay, so this makes it a little bit easier because in that way, the things that I'm working on more regularly or most recently, they bubble up to the top. I don't have to look for them anymore. Easy, right? And then there's also the quick access, which is also very useful. So you can look at this later. I have the little hearts here because last opened by me is my favorite way to do it. And that's chronological by the last time I opened it. Okay, so my drive versus shared with me. This is very confusing for a lot of people, and I totally understand. It can be very confusing to me too. So when someone shares a file or a folder with you, you get something that says it was shared with you, right? And it kind of goes into its own little space. So let me show you what that looks like. So here I am in my drive, and here's shared with me. Now, the pain in the butt was shared with me is that it's just sitting and shared with me. It's sitting in its own space, and I cannot move things around. And in most cases, I don't even know why these things are shared with me, but they are. Okay. And it's just kind of a big mess, and I don't want to deal with it at all. So there are some very important things in here. And so I'm going to show you what I do to deal with that. So again, if it's in shared with me and it's something that's important to you and you want to put it into your drive, I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Let me just go back here. So basically, my drive is everything that you created, everything that you added, or everything that you uploaded. That's your stuff. Even if you've shared it with other people, it still is in your drive because you're the owner. Now, then there's shared with me, right? Shared with me is a completely different thing. Those are files created and uploaded by other people, and they've shared them with you. All right, so that's the bottom line. That's the difference between the two of them. And again, shared with me is just kind of a mess. It's hard to find stuff in it. It's just a lot of times you don't know why it was shared with you. Maybe you don't even care, but there are some things in there that you might actually want to use. So let me talk about that. You can move the files into your drive. It's not going to move it away from the person who owns it. They still have it in their place, right? And all the other people they've shared it with, they still have it in wherever they want it to go. But you want to make copies yourself. So there are two ways to do this, but they have their own consequences. The first way is adding a shortcut to Drive. If you ask me if this is something that might have a lot of changes, you think that the person who owns it is going to change it a lot, and you want to keep going back and looking at it, then I would just do add the shortcut to your drive. And I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. Because as that person's making the changes, you will see the changes. You're always going to see the updated version of it. Okay. Then there's file make a copy. Now what that does is just like a copy machine. You're taking a document, you're putting it on the glass, you're making a copy, and you're giving the original back to the other person. Well, if that person changes the original on their computer and prints out a new copy, your copy isn't going to change, right? Same difference, same thing. That's what's going to happen is that if you do the file make a copy, you've made your own copy, but the changes won't be happening to that copy. File make a copy is really great for things that, it could be something that's done. It's done. It's like a list of rules, or it's not going to change. Go ahead and file make a copy. And also file make a copy if it's something that you just want to kind of borrow and make changes to. Okay, you can do that too, right? So if you move the file into your drive, you can't make any changes to it, right? But if you make a copy, it becomes your copy. You do whatever you want with it. Change the name, move it around, whatever it is. So again, different consequences. So let me just show you how that works. So I'm in shared with me because I want to show you how I take something from shared with me and I make a copy of it into, not make a copy, I'm sorry. I put a link to one of my folders so I can easily find it better. So I've got this agenda here. I know it was for today. That's okay. This is just an example. I'm going to right click. Here's the right click, important right click. Right click on it. And I go to add shortcut to drive. Notice, move to, rename, show file location. They're all grayed out. I can't do anything with those. But I can add a shortcut to drive. So I'm going to click on this, add shortcut to drive. Opens up this little box. And now it's asking me, where do I want to put this shortcut? Well, I know where I want to put this. I'm going to put this here. I'm going to open up my drive. I'm going to open it by clicking on the little arrow. So now it's going to go to all my folders. And I know I want to put it in the race and equity lead folder that I have. I'm going to click on that. And I want it to go into February, March toolkit. And I'm going to, oops, it won't let me put it here for whatever reason. Oh, interesting. Let me go back. There. I'm going to, oh, I guess it's only going to let me put it in my drive. That's interesting. Huh. Hang on. Oh, I know why. Never mind. I can't put it in there because those are not things that I own. So let me put it into one that I own. I forgot. And now I'm going to click on add shortcut. Did you notice that I couldn't, those other folders I don't own. So I wasn't able to put a shortcut there. So this one I own, and I'm going to put add shortcut. It's asking me, do I want to put in a shared folder because this particular folder is shared with my boss? Yes, I do. Add shortcut. Now I'm going to show you what that looks like. Let me go back to my drive. And again, it's nice and slow because I'm presenting. Okay. And it's in this one, race and equity lead. I put it in silencing February, March, and we're looking for the agenda for today. And here it is, race and equity agenda, February 5th, 2021. Do you notice, like this one right here, this is my own copy that I made. It does not have the little arrow. Make that a little bit bigger. It doesn't have the little arrow. This one does have an arrow. The little arrow means that's just it's a link to somewhere else. Little arrow means it's a link to somewhere else. This one I can get into, no problem. Okay. So making a copy. So let's say that this was, you know, I can go ahead and make this. I'm going to go ahead and right click on this. And I can go down to make a copy. Let me make that smaller. Hold on. Okay. So this one I'm going to make my own copy. Now, what does that mean again? If someone makes a change to that document, I'm not going to see it now when I open this, right? When I open the new one. When I open my copy of it, I'm not going to see the changes, but I'll have my own copy that I can change around. So let me show you how that works. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to, oops, cancel. Right click, make a copy. So again, that's the right click. I'm making a copy and it makes me a copy right in here. So here it is. Let me open it up. This is taking forever. Okay, so what I made a copy of though, this is the problem, is what I made a copy of was the link. All right, let me just show you what it looked. If you can do that with things that are not just links, if it's an actual document that's been shared with you and you can only view it, you can go ahead and make a copy of it. This one, it just made a copy of the link, so I can't make any changes to this. So I'm sorry, that was a bad example. Let me show you what that looks like though. Actually, I'm going to move on. But just know, right? This is the way that you can move things and organize them yourself so you know where they are. All right, I'm checking my time. It's 2 o'clock already, of course. Okay, searching. The search bar in Google Drive is amazing. Let me show you how it works really quickly. Now you can go ahead and click in here and type in a name, and you'll see every single document that either that person owns or that person's name shows up in. You know, it's very, very powerful, but it could also bring up a lot of stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and go in here, and I'm going to put in Tracy Logan, and I'm going to see everything that she owns that I also have access to in my drive, which is quite a bit. As you can see, I've got this rolling, see, it just keeps going on. But let's say that I know that I want to see a Google form that she created and shared with me, or a Google form that I created and shared with her, because I'm looking for specific things. So I click on the little arrow. Let me do that again. I'm gonna okay. Oops. All right, so here I am. I've got the search results going, but I'm going to click on this little arrow. And now I can get, so I already have in here that the owner is Tracy, and I want to look, actually, you can tell which folder. If you think you know what folder it's in, you can specify the folder. But you can also put in has the words, right? What the words are. Colleen's very excited about something. All right. So it has the word somewhere, right? You can put the word in that you think is in there. If I put equity, I could search again. Hello, there we go. So now it actually has made it smaller. The number of things have gotten a lot smaller, which is great. So you can just keep whittling away at it until you find what you're looking for. So for those of you who are not really good at organizing stuff, the search bar is great. As long as you remember one or two things about what you're looking for, you can find it. Okay, so that's search. It's just very, 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 very powerful. Okay. So in terms of files, this will help you in terms of organization. We want people to start using what's called a file naming convention. And this is something that we're trying to do district-wide. I'll be honest, I'm not good at it. Sorry, that's just the way it is. I'll be very honest about it. So with the file naming convention, it's the whole idea is you're putting one piece of information first when you're naming the file, then another piece of information, then another piece of information. Now, why do you want to do that? It's because Google's built on search. And if you give it a few things, it will definitely help. But it's also going to help you just in terms of finding stuff altogether. So what we are suggesting is, and these are examples down here, what's the topic or the event, right, in box, I don't know what you call it, box brackets, and then filed by the, then the name of the item, what is the item, right, and then the date. So example, if this were a file, we would call it Google file naming convention, and then with the date, and you can decide what the date is. Now, this is something that you may want to talk, if you're an office manager, this is something that you want to talk to your principal about, or you want to talk to your boss about. Maybe this is something that you could do within your department or within your school that would help people find things. Because, it's very annoying to have someone email you and go, where could I find the blah, blah, blah file, right? That's a pain. So, this will help you out. So that being said, now you're probably like, well, I haven't actually been using the file naming convention because I didn't know about it. So how do I rename all these files and folders that I have? So I'm just going to tell you very quickly, renaming is really easy in Drive because all you have to do, here it is, that magical right click. You right click and you rename something. So let me give you an example. I'm going to go into my Drive. Going to go into a folder. I'm going to find a folder. I can rename a folder or I can rename a file. Either way. Okay, this one, this is a terrible name. Secretary/clerk meeting. Terrible name. Terrible. You know why? There could be more. So I just did that on the fly. I want to rename this. I know I want to rename this right now. Now I could do this with a folder as well if I wanted, but I'm just going to do this with a file. So I'm going to right click on Secretary Clerk Meeting. I get that new menu and I'm going to go down to rename. I'm going to click on rename. Okay, and I'm going to call this, let's see. This was a slide, info slide. And actually, no, I should put office managers meeting. And then I'm going to put what it is. This is an info slide. And then I'm going to put the date. And it was from today. So I'm going to put 020, what is this, the 6th? The 5th, 0205 21. So I've now changed it. I am using the new, you can put spaces in there too. It doesn't matter. Just basically, this is the file naming convention. I'm going to click on OK, and you will see that it has changed it now. Okay, so simple. Right click, rename. Right click to rename from Drive. Very simple. All right, next thing. Whew, okay. Let's stop for a second because I'm about to go into something really big. That was a lot. Okay, everyone close your eyes for a second because we have to like save our eyeballs. Close your eyes for a second. And if you need to, take a drink of water, take a couple deep breaths.
There's a question, Lori.
Okay, I generally don't stop for questions.
Okay.
But what was it?
Can you put the letter bigger? Is that for the presentation or is it for the file name? I'm not sure.
I'm guessing it's probably for the presentation. So I'm making things as large as I can. You may need to maximize your screen. Okay, I don't, that, this is, I've run into this before when I'm presenting to large groups of people. You may need to maximize your screen. Okay, so if you're trying to like, I know people do this. They have one screen, they have like half their screen with this going on, and then they have half their screen with like their email or something else going on. I know people like to multitask. It's best if you make your screen large and then you can see the whole thing much bigger. Okay, I'm making it as big as I can. I'm zooming when I can. I can't always zoom. Okay, so and just so you know, you can watch all this later. We're recording right now. You can also look at the presentation later as well. Okay, so I'm going to talk about sharing. This is where people get confused with Google Drive. So we're talking about Google Drive. Google Drive holds a lot of different files, but the ones that the ones that you can really share easily for collaboration and things like that are the ones that are created through Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Sheets, anything with Google in the front of its name. You can upload things like Microsoft Word. You can upload those things to Drive, but if you upload them as they are just like PDFs. And I'll be talking about that in a little bit, but when we're talking about sharing, if you want all the sharing to happen, you need to make sure that you've created a Google Doc, a Google Slide, Google Sheet, Google Drawing, Google Form, all of those different things. Okay.
Hey,
So,
Lori, can I interrupt just for one
yeah,
sec?
go ahead.
I just wanted to point out to those folks at home, if your screen defaults to Lori's presentation and her video being of equal size, there's a drag bar right in the middle. If you drag that to the right, it'll make the video presentation smaller, but make her sharing of her screen larger, which allows for you to get a better look at things.
Thank you, Ron. Right, that's true. That is true. In Zoom, that's what you can do. Is there's a bar between my presentation and me. Make me as small as you want. Okay. You just move that over. There's a bar. Just drag it, pull it over. Thank you, Ron. Okay, so when we're talking about sharing, there are many different ways to share, but the two basic ways is that you're either going to share with specific individuals or groups, or you're going to share using a link. That means you're going to send someone a link and say, I've shared this with you. Okay, so the one that most people know about is the one at the top here. These are the two different ways: share with people in groups and get a link. Okay, those are the two basic kinds of ways. Most people know about this one where you have to type in all the people's names, right? I'm going to show you another way to do that too, but you can, if you know the group name, if it's like part of a, you know, a group of people at a school, right? Yeah, and you know the email address for that, you can do that. But so these are the basic ways of doing it. You're either sharing it with specific people or you're getting a link and you're sharing it with a larger group. All right. So, okay, not to get confusing. I know this a lot. So I talk a lot about the idea of it being like a traffic light, right? Red, yellow, green. So when you share with a person, let's say I share something with Ron, I'm going to give him a certain permission, right? I can either make him a viewer, which is sort of like a red light. All he can do is look at it. That's not really collaboration, right? He can just look at it. Or I can make him a commenter, which means he can put in comments, but he can't make any changes. So that's like the yellow light. And then green light is I make him an editor, which means that he can do everything that I can do except delete the file because I'm the owner. Okay. So I kind of look at it like the green light is that's total collaboration. I am working equally with Ron. Okay. If I have made him instead a commenter, then that's like yellow light. I still want to hear what he thinks, but I'm kind of done. Maybe I'm not going to make a lot of changes and I don't want him to go in and make big changes. Red light is like, I'm done. I am done. You are not making any more changes. I am the only person who can make changes to my document. Okay. So that's what I'd like to think of it as a traffic light. These are some other choices. These two right here, give temporary access and make owner. Those are covered in the Drive Next Steps training. So I'm not going to go over that. But you can look at the slides later. They are in there. And remove completely, which means I would remove Ron and he can't even see it. Okay, that's it. He's gone. Goodbye. Once you share with a single person or several people using this way, they will get an email that says, so-and-so has shared this with you. Okay, so let me just show you what that looks like. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to open, I'll go ahead and open this slide. Okay, so this is a Google slide, which means I can go ahead and share it because it's made by Google. This is something I can share. So I'm going to go up to the upper, ooh, that is bright. Sorry about that. And it's still going. I don't know why. But right up by my name or by my picture, there's a share button. I'm just waiting for it to turn blue, which means it's on. Or yellow. Now, I want you to know something. It's got a lock on it and it says share. But the lock means I'm not sharing it with anyone. I am the only person who can see it. A lot of people think that when you put things into Google Drive, then everyone can see it. Not true. Not true. Only you can see it. You have to share it. Everything that you put in your Drive, everything that you create, the default is it's only for you. Not anyone else, just you. You have to share it. So I'm going to go ahead and share this. I click on share. Oh, that's nice and big. It's loading. Again, it's so slow. Ron, is it something with like Zoom and sharing your screen that slows it down?
It's got to be because
It's
normally
got to
that's
be. I
super
can't think of
fast.
anything else it would be. All right, now where to go? And it won't even let me scroll. This is great.
I mean, we're at 173 viewers, so
I
that's
don't. That shouldn't have anything to do with it, right? I don't know. Well, and now I'm stuck. Oh, there we go. I'm going to make this smaller again. Hello. And now, oh, there we go. Okay. No, that's not working either. And now I'm stuck. Sorry, folks. Generally speaking, I'm going to close that because that's a pain. I'm going to open something else. Let me open something easy. That one's not going to take forever. Okay. Hang on. I love it when my example won't work. Okay. This is a Google Sheet, which is a spreadsheet. So Google Slides is slide deck. Google Sheets is spreadsheets. Google Docs is documents. Okay. And we're waiting again, working. Thank you for okay. Now when I go to this share button, you see it's got some people on it, right? You can barely see that. I'm not going to make it big again because that was where I went wrong. Okay, so that means that if I hover my cursor over, it says that it's shared with 9 people already. So I'm going to click on it. Now I'm going to share it with Ron. It might actually be shared with Ron already. Loading. Okay, here are all the, oh, it is shared with Ron. Here are all the people it's shared with already. But let me show you something really cool here, right? Let's say that we are done. We're already done with this. So what I'm going to do is Ron is a viewer on this right now, but I'm going to remove Ron because I'm going to add him back in just a second. So hold on a second. So I'm going to click on viewer, right? And I'm going to remove him. Gone. Goodbye. I'm going to add him back in right now though. So this is what you do. I'm going to share with him. It's already shared with a few people. You can add people as you go. So I'm going to go ahead and put in Ron. There he is. I just, generally speaking, if it's people you usually share with and you put in the first 2 letters of their name, they're going to come up. Okay. So I'm going to click on Ron. And I can decide right now, am I going to make him an editor? Right? Remember the choices. So it's either I'm just going to let him look at it, I'm going to let him make comments, or I'm going to make him an editor. I'm just going to let him look at it. So I'm going to make him a viewer. I can send him a message if I want. This will go along with the email with the link. It'll say, here, Ron, here's the information you were looking for. Let me know if you need something else, right? Here's the link, and I'm going to click on send. And he'll get an email, okay? So he'll get an email for that. Okay, that's one way of sharing. The other way, let's say that I wanted to share this with everyone in the school district, but just to look at it. Okay, it's got tons of information. I do a lot of things that are shared with the entire district. For instance, this is shared with the entire district. Okay, this presentation. All right, let me go back. So I'm going to click on share again. Now this is the other way, is to get a link. Right now it's restricted. Now what that means is if I use this link, the only people who are going to be able to open it are the ones who are listed here, right? These folks here. These are the only people who are going to be able to see it. But if I change it, so if I click here, change link to West Contra Costa Unified School District, what comes up is a link. You saw that said permission updated. And it says anyone in this group with this link can view. Now, if you're wondering if there's other choices, now remember, large groups, right? This is, you use get a link if you're going to be sharing with large groups of people. I can either send it back to being restricted, leave it at West Contra Costa, or I could say anyone with the link. That means anyone beyond WCC USD. If I send them the link, they can open this up. Okay, so just keep that in mind. There's those of us here in this group, West Contra Costa, and then there are the outside folks. So those of you who are office managers, that's something that you might use at some point, right? You're sharing it with something outside. If you're working with parents and you need to share something with them, that's what you're going to do. You're going to do anyone with the link, like a large group of parents. So there's that. There's also this. How do I want them to see it? Do I want them to just view it? Do I want them to comment on it, or do I want them to be able to do all the things that I can do? Well, I'm sure you know that I am not going to pick editor, because can you imagine if let's say even all of you, if I put all of you on one thing and you are all editing the same thing, what kind of craziness would that be? So that's a big fat no. So I'm just going to leave it at viewer. That's what I want. I want to be able to send this link out. People can see it, might be on the website. So that's the way that's going to work. That's viewer. So I'm going to leave it as viewer. Now, I'm not actually going to do this. I'm actually going to put this back, but I have to remember to copy the link, because it's not automatically going to go to everyone in West Contra Costa, right? I have to copy the link and email it to people, or put it on a website, or, share it in some way. I'm going to change this though, because I do want it to stay restricted. And now I'm going to click on done. All right. So those are the basics. If you're sharing the link, you just have to, this is the thing you have to remember. You have to remember to copy the link and give it to someone if that's the way that you're sharing. Very, very important. And I kind of break it down and let you know, right? Restricted, what that means. Okay, I got to move on because I'm behind time already. Okay, so, and again, viewer, commenter, editor, it's like the traffic light. Okay, uploading files and folders. You all may be at a point where you've got a lot of stuff on your computer and you want to upload it to Google Drive, because it's safer actually in Google Drive. It is actually backed up better. You don't have to worry about backing it up, which is great, because again, if you save something on your laptop, if you save something on your computer at work or at home, and something happens to that computer, you lose all those files unless you back them up. And I will tell you, most people do not back things up. So this is why you want to upload files and folders. Now, Google Drive is great. Again, it's like a gigantic bunch of file cabinets in the cloud, right? So uploading them will put them in there. You can upload anything. You can upload movies, you can upload pictures, you can upload all kinds of things, right? So basically, uploading is pretty simple. It's you click on new, you click on file upload or folder upload. And yes, if you upload an entire folder, all the stuff in the folder is going to go too. So that's going to save you some time. If there's like a whole bunch of stuff, you can put it all into a folder on your hard drive and then upload the whole folder. Yes, it might take a while, but that's okay. Let it run overnight. Big deal. Or file upload, that would be a single file, right? Or a couple of files. So there are two ways to upload. You either use this new button and you click and drag. If you are uploading files from a Chromebook, if you're a paraprofessional, you have a Chromebook. So this gives you information on how to do that. It looks a little bit different, not too different. It looks a little different. You might be wondering, where is that stuff that I downloaded, or where is that stuff that I saved? It's in files, which looks like this. My Files is actually the official name of it. All right, I'm going to go over this as quickly as I can because I do want to put you into smaller groups. So converting. When you upload a Microsoft document to Drive, it will be a Microsoft document. And like I told you before, if you leave it as a Microsoft document in your Drive, it's like a PDF. You can't make any changes to it. You can't share it with anyone. You can't collaborate. It's impossible. It is like a PDF. So you may want to consider converting it to a Google Doc, right? I know this is a little bit advanced, but it's really important for you to understand that if you put something that is not made by Google into the Google Drive, it's more like a PDF. All right, so if you put one of these in and you convert it, right, and you get the Google version, you can make changes, you can allow others to edit, and you can collaborate. There is something called auto conversion, and I'll talk about that in just a second. If you choose not to convert it, it is going to be like a PDF. You can always convert it later. It's fine, no problem. But if you put it in there like that, that's the way it's going to be. So I'm not going to go, I'm just going to talk about this really quickly. You can set it up so that automatically when you upload a Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, Microsoft Excel, if you upload that to Google Drive, you can set it, and this is all in settings, and I tell you exactly how to do it. It will automatically convert those uploads to the Googly version of them. Okay, you may lose a few things, like you may lose anything fancy that you had in there, but generally all the text is going to be there. You know, the basic things that you need are going to be there. And then when it's the Googly version of it, you can make changes, you can share it with people, and you can collaborate. So that's basically auto conversion. I think I'm done. Oh, yeah. So you can also upload it as a Microsoft Word document, and then you can convert it as you go. The reason why I don't suggest doing that, granted, we have unlimited space in our West Contra Costa Unified School District Google Drives. Unlimited. Go crazy. Okay. But when you do this where you convert it later, you end up with 2 copies of the same thing. You've got the Microsoft Word version and you have the doc version. So just consider that. It's a little more work, but you know, it's really up to you. You can turn that auto conversion thing on or off.